the fact that you can always come up with another one destroys the argument that there's scarcity there. I mean, you're not going to come up with a better gold. Gold is gold. But I can keep inventing these cryptocurrencies. There's no limit to the supply of cryptocurrencies. And I don't know that necessarily if you can assign a value to the network, if that value inures to the individual, Satoshis that everybody owns. And, I know that yeah, we're going digital. A lot of things now are digital, but that doesn't mean that everything is digital. I don't live in a digital house. I don't eat digital food. I don't drive a digital car, and I'm not going to have digital money because money is a commodity. It is a real thing. It cannot just be replicated digitally. If you want to have a store of value, if you want real money, then you need something like gold. If you believe in fiat money, well, then you can have fiat cryptocurrencies. But the problem is, again, you're playing a confidence game only without the government supports and all the other infrastructure, the price structures, the insurance products, the bond markets, all the things that people use fiat currencies for today. They don't use Bitcoin for any of that other than just trading. People collect Bitcoin.
Let me kick that back to Anthony, just so that when we get to the half hour, we can go to the audience, because I've got some very good questions. Thank you very much, audience, and do keep them coming, and I'll try and group them as sensibly as I can. Anthony, I'm actually speaking to you from the Baltic states, so I've been speaking to and talking to people who are obviously very keen on digital. It's interesting the point, we don't have a digital car. Well, we don't, although I feel I've got near as damn it a digital car. I got a car from Bolt, one of the big car apps up here. I did it all on the app. I turned up, open sesame, the key was there, literally the car was physical, but nothing else was. Even so, I say to you, talking to Kaja Kallas, the very go-ahead Prime Minister of Estonia, on digital yesterday, cryptocurrency, she said, I don't yet see that it would inspire confidence. And if you are getting to the point where your argument is quite well advanced, it exists in the real world, and yet governments are still very chary, very leery of it, there might be a problem around that. Am I right?
I had that view that you're sharing with me, that the Prime Minister of Estonia or the President of Estonia had. If you were talking to me in 2017 or 2018, I would have had this higher level of skepticism. When I left the White House, people forget that I was also at the XM Bank, and I spent several weeks at the XM Bank examining the XM Bank as its chief strategy officer, making a recommendation to the administration whether or not we should keep the XM Bank. And at that time, they were talking about the digitization of the dollar and the threat of a digital yuan. And when I was fired from the White House and went back to my business, it's one of the great things about being an entrepreneur. After you're fired, you go back to your own business, big deal. I bought the URL skybridgebitcoin.com because it became very clear that the fiat currencies were going to start digitizing. So what I would say to the Estonian government is, I understand your concern, but there's been exponential growth in the network. The network has moved from 30 million users at that time to 125 million users, on its way to 180 by year end. And so as more and more users join the network, the fait accompli of the network will be such that it'll be impossible not to have it as a part of our lives. And what I would say to Peter about gold, I respect gold and I understand gold's cultural and historical tenets, but software is eating the world. Every book behind me right now, I can digest that book into this smartphone. And then I have room for my photos and everything else. And I think what Mr. Nakamoto or Mrs. Nakamoto, the group known as Nakamoto, suggested is, if we've got money, and this is where Peter and I would intellectually disagree, gold is just another representation of value. It is a ledger. The human beings for 5,500 years are trying to come up with a ledger between each other so that they can exchange goods and services without bartering. Gold is just another representation of that. So all Nakamoto is saying is, this meets the three tenets. It's scarce, it can be networked, and I can transfer it to you in an impregnable way. We don't have to like or trust each other, but I can create that one-on-one experience without having to go through a third party. One last quick point.
Yeah, quick one back to Peter and then to the audience, because we've got some great questions. You'll have to keep going for those.
If we capture a meteor very valuable one that's got a $250 billion worth of gold. It's going to super disrupt that market. Bitcoin can't be disrupted. It can't be recreated.
Peter,
Well,
very quick last comeback there. You can volley or serve at the net, and then we'll go to the audience.
Well, first of all, gold is not a representation of anything. Gold is itself. It is a metal, right? It is a commodity. And prior to it being money, it was bartered for other commodities. I mean, I could have some gold and you could have some wheat, and we could exchange one commodity for another, one value for another. So when gold became money, gold became accepted in exchange for any other commodity, but it was a commodity itself. Bitcoin does not possess that property. Bitcoin is not an actual good. So, when you talk about digital books or digital music, these things can be digitized. This is intangible. I can read a book on paper because what I'm reading are the words. And so you can transfer those words to me digitally or on a piece of paper. The same thing with music. I can listen to an album that's playing on, a phonograph, or I could listen to, an iPod or whatever. It's the music which is digital. But other commodities like gold is a physical element. It is a metal, and it can't be replaced with a digital representation, because I can't make this watch out of digital gold. I can't conduct electricity with digital gold. You have to understand the difference. When you are putting your faith in Bitcoin, there's nothing real. In order to pump up the market price of the Bitcoin that they had acquired, and so I think they have been selling into the hype. And so in my mind, it is a giant pump and dump where the guys that got in relatively early, maybe not on the ground floor, but relatively early, are constantly trying to pump up the market in order to generate a lot of enthusiasm and a momentum and FOMO so that they can sell out gradually into this market that they are creating. And I think it's part of the whole culture of this hodl diamond hands trying to convince as many of the little guys to never sell. Because if you're the big guy and you're trying to unload your Bitcoin, you don't want everybody else selling at the same time and screwing it up for you. So you want to convince all the new people who are coming in that they can buy Bitcoin now at 30, 40,000, 50,000 a Bitcoin, and it's going to go to $1 million, it's going to go to 10 million. You got to get those guys on board and make sure they never sell so you can keep getting rid of yours. And that's what I think is going on behind the scenes.